Live from Talking Joe Studios, it's Talking Joe. Well, of course it's Talking Joe. It's literally the name of the studio. Joe wrote this copy!
Live from the Talking Joe Studios, it's Talking Joe.
Talking Joe is on the air.
Hey, it's me, Mark, and you are watching or listening to Talking Joe, the G.I Joe Comics podcast. Now, today we are recording this live, which in actuality is a thing that has to happen, but we are also streaming. So if you're watching live, then welcome and please do join in. Today we will be talking about G.I Joe, A Real American Hero, issue 331, released Wednesday, the 12th of August, 2026. The synopsis for that issue was: can Scarlett stop Snake-Eyes? Will Dr. Mindbender's master plan turn the Joes' closest friends into their deadliest enemies? We will find out as we discuss the issue, but I will not be doing that in a never-ending monologue. As always, I will be joined by my co-host. It's a Real American Tim. It's Tim Finn.
Hello, listeners, Mark, viewers. Hello.
Greetings, Tim. I was worried you got stuck there underneath your desk. I'm glad you made it.
Sometimes the gantry doesn't. So just like the recall on the Defiant.
Very good. So joining us live is Yorktown Joe, who says, happy Saturday, Mark and Tim. And I managed to read the issue this morning, so spoiler away after appropriate warnings for others, of course. So the first bit of the episode is always spoiler-free, and we will give a spoiler warning as we get into spoiler territory.
Okay, fact check. I just made a joke about the Defiant and a recall. There wasn't a recall. Hasbro was aware of a piece that wasn't working well and offered replacements or something. It wasn't technically a recall. Okay, back to Talking Joe.
Yeah, Hasbro discovered that 40 years after release, the plastic is very brittle and is just volunteering to give everyone with 40-year-old brittle plastic replacements. Good news, everybody!
I think if you have clothing from LL Bean, there's a lifetime warranty. If you have a pair of pants from 40 years ago and there's a hole in the pocket, I think you get a new pair of pants or they fix the hole. Anyway, we should probably talk about comics.
Yeah. Also joining us live is Anything Joe's. Welcome to the show.
Are we supposed to sing that like the Broadway play Anything Goes?
Well, I think that's part of it. Yeah, you probably.
Okay.
Part
did I pick up on the actual reference? And is it not subtle?
Yes. Sing it. Only sing it.
Anything Joe. I don't know the rest of the line, much less the verse or the whole song. They did that play in my high school when I was in 10th, 11th grade. Yeah.
Welcome, Greg or Jaron. I'm assuming it's Greg in control of the social medias there. He sounds like I think he's the man behind the wheel. Yes, first bit of news is sort of not quite comics related, but is Larry Hama related. So in recent days, Larry Hama updated on his social medias about an unfortunate bad fall. He had a fall a couple of weeks ago on Friday morning, damaged his hip replacement, much internal bruising along femur into ball socket and a surface bruise the size of Rhode Island on the opposite side of the same leg. I have spared sharing the photo of Larry Hama's leg, but it is out there on social medias. All extremely painful and completely demobilizing. Can't walk without hurting using a walker. The update was... doctor sent me back for more x-rays, one of which is now on screen. They discovered a spiral fracture of my femur. Ouch, where the hip replacement ball is implanted to the bone. Spent another whole day in ER waiting for orthopedics. Follow up with his orthopedic surgeon. Won't require surgery, but will have to stay off his leg and use a walker for 3 months and no unnecessary travel. So cancelling con appearances until late October. So apologies to fans who were expecting to see Mr. Hama at those shows. So in conclusion, ouch. as Simon aptly puts. Poor Larry, and I hope he's well on his way to recovery, and best wishes from us.
I think Hama has now already missed FarleyCon. I think he was scheduled to be there, and that happened recently. And in your reading of that social media post, Mark, you referred to Friday. I think that post is now like 2 weeks past.
Yeah, I think so, 2 Fridays. Yeah,
it's a bummer. It's a bummer.
So who else have we got there? So we had Simon giving us an evening.
I mean, anyone looks handsome on screen compared to an X-ray of a hip replacement. So I'll take that.
And confirmation that it's Greg in the chat, and we've got Major Matt Mason, I think that's his name, who also says hello, welcome, Matthew. Tim's desperately trying to rack his brain, trying to think of the rock.
If you are listening to this podcast and Mark and Tim are on the microphone, anything Joe's, something like that.
Okay, thank you. That was a good second run at that one.
Okay.
Right, so let's move on to proper comics. So this week we had a second printing, August 12th, of G.I Joe, A Real American Hero, issue 330, second printing, featuring Lara Croft on the cover. I'm going to give you a solo layout there, Tim, so you can just display the physical product in your actual literal hands.
Yeah, the cover is really impressive. Mooneyham colored the hell out of this. It's a montage, sort of like a movie poster. Lara Croft is full figure, front and center, pistol in one hand and a rope in another. She's looking slightly off to one side. Behind her, in sort of floating head mode, Destro. And on the other side, full body Snake Eyes, and then below that, sort of in like the shared space of Snake Eyes, but like not in quite the shared space of Lara Croft, Duke with an under and over, standing on some ruins with some skulls and some vipers heading toward us, and a hiss tank and some Mooneyham is not doing a Drew Struzan pastiche stylistically, but I do think with the sort of vertical line and the sort of square sort of inset panel that the Hiss Tank and the Cobra characters are emerging from this jungle, and a bit of the montage quality, and indirectly the sort of rendering quality, since Struzan would use paint and Prismacolor pencils. I think that Mooneyham is slightly alluding to that kind of old-fashioned painted movie poster. And then it says, enter Lara Croft, Tomb Raider, Scourge of Cobra, and the newest recruit of G.I. Joe. And the coloring is really sort of wonderful and strange. It's very like peach with sort of pink and like the subtle aqua of her tank top that's also in Destro's metal mask. And then there's almost no pure black. It's just like a very, very, very dark brown. It's a limited palette, and it's really wonderful and quite unusual for a G.I. Joe cover. And then in the background there's some helicopters, looks like.
It's a whole bunch going on.
Tomahawks. And what's so fun and perhaps unfair about this cover is that she's front and center, and she does get a almost full splash page to herself at the end of that comic. This is last month's issue, now in second print form, right? It's a page with 3 panels, but one of them's really big, acting like a splash. And then the page before it, you don't know who she is. She's just like a silhouette sneaking around. So it is in some ways a fair representation of this comic book because Lara Croft does show up, but it is a 2-page coda in a 22-page issue. And she doesn't interact with the Joes, and she's not recruited by the Joes, and she doesn't act like she's on the Joe team. She just mentions Shipwreck as if she met him once in the past. I'm fine with all this, by the way. Certainly when you have, like 10 years ago, some issue of Deadpool, and the variant cover is like a photo of some actor from Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the live action show on ABC. And it's like, I guess this is an issue of Deadpool. I have no idea what comic book I'm buying. Or there's like an issue of G.I. Joe where the Baroness is on the cover and she's not in the issue. Like Lara Croft is in this issue, but this cover does feel more like issue 1 of the crossover. And I feel like if this was a more sort of a spoilery reprint of 330, it would be Scarlett and Snake Eyes and Duke, and then like on a small inset panel on the bottom, like Lara Croft head and shoulders looking at you. It's like, and look out for Lara Croft. I feel like she should get sort of by percentage, much less of the cover. But I want this comic to sell, and I want people to get excited about it. So by all means, put the exciting video game crossover character all over the cover.
Yeah, great cover. Sort of one of those cases where, normally I just collect the cover A and that's it. In this case, it's almost like, I can just live without the cover A. Let me get this second printing cover instead. This is great. So we also had a little bit of insight on this one. So friend of the show who is good friends with the writer of the upcoming crossover with Lara Croft and G.I. Joe, Kyle Higgins, apparently he did the bulk of the writing of those 2 extra pages, is the insight that I've been given. So I think he kind of Kyle Higgins wrote those 2 pages as a prologue to his upcoming mini-series with kind of Larry Hama's review and blessing of inclusion of those in the book. Additional bit of insight about the upcoming crossover from some of the interviews surrounding San Diego Comic-Con. Executive at Skybound, Sean Makowitz, publisher, I think is his technical name, said that basically Hasbro came to them talking about the fact that they've got this Lara Croft classified figure coming up, and what do they think about doing a project, and they liked the sound of it. And went with it.
I think that sound effect is the sound of a cash register drawer opening.
And apparently they gave Hama first refusal as to whether he wanted to do something with her as a ARAH project. And he said he was fine with it, but he didn't want to personally do it. So then it sounds like they probably went out to a couple of people for pitches, and they said that Kyle Higgins gave a great pitch, sort of playing into some G.I. Joe lore, which I think people have seen the preview pages, know what that lore is. And so that's how he ended up with the project. I'll just say hello to people in the chat. So Cobra Ninja 109 is joining us. Hello, everybody. I wonder if we'll see 108 other Cobra Ninjas also joining us in the chat. And Barking Fridge is here as well. If there's a 2-page cameo that worked for Wolverine, I'm good with it for Lara Croft. Yeah, I mean, was it Wolverine's first ever appearance in the pages of Hulk? Was very small, wasn't it? Was it just like a final panel or something?
It's the splash page at the end of Hulk 180. So the Overstreet price guide considers Hulk 181 his first full appearance, right? Because he's in the whole issue. And even though he gets a full page at the end of 180, that's considered a cameo. And I think an analogy would be Venom's first appearance is Amazing Spider-Man 300, where he's in the whole issue. I think he gets the last 2 pages of Amazing Spider-Man 299, and his arm gets 1 page at the end of 298.
And I think the first appearance of the black Spidey costume of Spider-Man is a whole podcast in itself. It's a source of much contention. Let's not get into it, Tim, because we'll be here all day otherwise. Also, just announced is the 3rd printing of A Real American Hero issue 330. This one will be out on the 9th of September, the distant future. It's the 330 that we know so well, with a black and white version of that Mooneyham cover, and also a sort of a digital explosion background style cover from, they're calling it an action figure variant, from Ronin Design.
Do we know, has Ronin Design provided any other artwork for recent Hasbro classified 6-inch figures?
I wonder, is this the same as the front, as the package for the Lara Croft toy? It might be, mightn't it?
I just assumed it was, but I was wondering if they had done any other characters.
I'm not aware of it. No, most of it these days is done by a couple of the key classified artists. I bet this is the classified classified.
I mean, that would be
front cover.
That would be the clearest sort of cross promotional advertising, right? You see this thing? There's a thing at the toy store and Target that looks like it.
I'm not even going to look it up. I'm close to 99% sure that is the case. What else is out? Transformers the movie Deluxe Edition came out this week.
So this is a hardcover, and it has both the 80s Marvel 3-issue adaptation as well as the Dreamwave 4-issue adaptation. And it was really cute when Dreamwave did a new... Wait, was it Dreamwave or IDW? It was IDW. I can't remember. When the movie adaptation was redone, it was cute because the editors asked Bob Budiansky if he wanted to adapt the Ron Friedman and Flint Dille and Jay Bacall screenplay as a comic, because even though he was writing the G.I. Joe comic at Marvel at the time, he didn't write...
Transformers comic.
Yes, he didn't write the Transformers movie comic at the time. And you could argue that adapting a movie into a comic book is sort of not creative or easy. I think neither is true. But it was a fun way to sort of bring Budiansky back in. And Don Figueroa, who had drawn really wonderful Transformers comics, was like the ideal artist to do this. And I was always bothered as a kid and an older fan in Transformers lore that so many of the 1985 characters don't show up in the animated movie. That was a big plot hole for me, because it's like all the 84 characters are there and many of them die, and then all the new 86 characters show up. And I remember at BotCon that year, I went up and down a line for people to get into the show or to get into some like signing event. And I had a clipboard and I did I was collecting signatures. Do you want the publisher to add a scene showing what the Stunticons and the aerial bots were doing during Transformers the movie? Like, can we put them into the Battle of Autobot City? And I presented it later on to the editor, and I said, you should write a new scene. You should have Bob Budiansky write a new scene. And it turns out, I think they had the same idea at the same time. I don't think I gave them the idea. And there is, in fact, a 2 or 3 page scene in, I think, issue 1 of that new animated movie adaptation, which, in fact, does show that happening. Anyway, sorry, just a fun nugget for Transformers fans.
Neat. Yeah, the sort of like the animated, sort of the comic book adaptation as well is a kind of a bit of a time capsule idea. It's from a time when you'd have a cinema release and then a massive wait before it would get released onto onto a home format, and or potentially predating that. And so if you had just seen it, if you'd seen the film and wanted to replay it, or missed out on seeing the film in the cinema, if maybe you couldn't get to it or were too young, then the way of sort of being able to relive it was in that comic book format. So yes, you don't sort of see quite so many comic book movie adaptations as you once did, because now it's just easier to see the film itself. Just to put a pin in the early idea, there is that Lara Croft Tomb Raider classified figure featuring the very same art that we just flipped up onto screen. So that's a fun way of sort of sharing that art. Again, issue 331 was out this week as well. We will be talking about that shortly. Transformers issue 35. We'll get a bit more into the detail of that one on our Energon Universe episode next week. But yeah, again, Lots of crossover in the Energon universe. A nice little cameo at the end of that issue.
We just want to do a quick call out to this comic book?
Yeah. Go on. Shout out to Fort Psycho. We talked a little bit about it on Free Comic Book Day when they had an issue of that.
Can you make me full screen for a moment? Yep. This is from Oni Press. This is written by Matt Kint and drawn by Brian Hertz, who I love from the DC Focus series Hard Time, and from the Oni Press series The Sixth Gun. Brian Hurt definitely should draw G.I. Joe one day, but since he may never, this is a pretty good approximation. It's called Fort Psycho. It's, I think, 12 issues, and it is very much a G.I. Joe-ish team and a Cobra-ish team. And issue number 1 is $5.99 because I think it's extra pages. And if you missed it, there is a second printing coming.
Very cool. Have to look out for that. Then we got news of the advanced solicit for G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero Deluxe Edition Book 2. So this is the nice hardcover editions collecting the G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero issues from Larry Hama and his artists, 10 issues at a time. So this is the second. So it's collecting 311 through to 320. And I believe this is quite an advanced solicit. It looks like this one might not be out until February next year. But one to add to your wish lists for when it does come out.
The covers, as with the Real American Hero hardcover 1, each of these features 4 Joes or 4 Cobras on the cover, but just portraits, but in this really, really well drawn, carefully portrayed sort of lineup where it's Destro, Baroness, Road Pig, and a Televiper, or Duke, Tunnel Rat, Roadblock, and Jinx. And Brad Walker this time is drawing both of them. It's not that he's drawing one and Andy Kubert's drawing the other. Andy Kubert, we know, is quite busy on Terminal, a monthly series. There is so much personality in these faces. I can't get over it. These are not exciting in a battle scene kind of way, but oh man, are these screaming to be posters. And there's character interaction. So Baroness is looking at Destro and her hand is on his shoulder, and Road Pig is sort of laughing to himself and looking down at his feet, but also scowling. And I said this when we looked at the cover to Volume 1. I guess these are Book 1. Is this Book 1? What's the term? Deluxe Volume 1. Brad Walker.
Book 1, Book 2.
Book 1. Okay. Yeah. The soft covers with 6 issues each are volumes. The hardcovers are books. Brad Walker has such a command of the different planes of the face in anatomical drawing, and having these characters like 5 degrees more turned away, 5 degrees turned up from us. And the drawing is just so compelling. I keep forgetting that he did like 10 variant covers when Skybound brought Real American Hero back. He did it was the 1 in 10, right? The 1 in 10 variant covers for the first
the C,
10 issues. And it was a Joe in the foreground and a Cobra sort of looming over in the background. And I don't want to kick any of our wonderful artists off of Real American Hero, but Skybound, please get Brad Walker to draw an issue, if not many of them.
Very good. And also talking about solicits, normally at this time we'd also talk about the latest Hama Files issue coming revealed in the solicits. There's nothing in the October solicits, so it looks like we've got a skip month on the Hama Files. So the last one that we know about is issue 110, which is out in September, that we spotlighted last time. So let's flick to issue 331, the subject of today's episode. It was brought to us by the normal creative team of writer Larry Hama, artist Paul Pelletier, inker Tony Kordos, colorist is Francesco Segala with Sabrina del Grosso on flats. Letterer is Pat Brousseau, editor Alex Antone, assistant editor Caitlin Chappell, publication design Jillian Crab, production design Richard Mercardo, and creative consultant Diana Davis. So now that we've started getting into the issue itself, let's have a look at those things that they plonk on the cover.
Let's have a look at the covers in the gallery.
G.I. Joe 331 cover A is drawn by Lee Weeks and colored by Lee Weeks. No background, all black, 2 characters. Snake Eyes is on the ground, 2/3 full figure from his knees up, and he's sort of stepping away, but turning and reacting in surprise as crashing through an unseen window with lots of broken glass and just inches away from striking him with 2 swords is Dawn Marino in her Snake Eyes costume, mid-air with her legs, her knees tucked and her arms and swords up over and behind her head. They are illuminated from the right side. So whatever, doorway, hallway, broken window Dawn just came through, there's some red light. Even though this, I guess we don't know if this is inside or outside. I sort of keep thinking it's the other one. It's like, well, she's crashing into a window to be inside, or maybe he's outside and she's crashing through a window to be outside. Anyway, this cover is elegant in its simplicity. It is a very striking cover, and there are basically only like 3 colors on it because Dawn and Snake Eyes' colors are costume colors are black. She's got a little bit of her costume, and he's got all of his, sort of belts and stuff that are like a dark gray, and then she's got some red. None of his complexion is showing. Her arms are sort of the same red as the like highlights on her thighs, and so very striking cover, beautiful movement, and this should be a poster too. Hey, Skybound, do you want to make some posters? I have one tiny art comment, which is that I think Snake Eyes' visor looks a little too big on his head, because I'm sort of missing his chin. But man, Lee Weeks can do a bunch of now I'm torn, because if Brad Walker draws an issue, I'd also want him to do the cover, but I don't want Lee Weeks to not do the cover, so I guess I'm asking for variants. Cover B. Cover B is this same image by Lee Weeks in black and white with no color. And you see here how Weeks is composing 85% of this cover as darkness and shadow, and then these really dramatic highlights on the right sides of both characters, and then some sort of midtones, right? Like Snake Eyes' chest where he's not catching the light, Dawn's front where she's not catching the light. And Weeks is only doing black, 1 gray, and white. And this is one of those covers where if I was the designer placing the logo, I would second guess myself, like, oh, well, the logo's got blue in it, the red, white, and blue stripe and the blue star. Like, am I throwing off the balance of the black and white version or the color version? But I also have to trust that, a G.I. Joe cover wants the G.I. Joe logo, and that, a little bit of blue does still work. Very, very cool. Kyle Jansen's 1110 says, Snake Eyes doesn't have a chin. So, yes, I think we're seeing the same thing, that Weeks drew a very large visor that's a little low on Snake Eyes. Is slightly foreshortened away from us head. But the pose is so great, and all the costume details are so great. I will totally let it fly, and this cover is not in any way ruined, and this issue is not in any way ruined. So that's A and B. Cover C is drawn and colored by Nimit Malavia, and this is it's sort of 2 things happening at once. Duke is sort of 4/5 full figure from his shins up to his head. He's holding a pair of he's got his fist down, and he's holding a machine gun up. He's looking down, and his weight is slightly shifted. His weight is slightly on his right foot, and his left shoulder is down a little bit. And then behind him, in sort of montage mode, is it's as if we're looking down at the top of a desk where we can see a passport and some manila folders and some photos that are all done in like a dark aqua, and it's of Duke from this angle and Duke from that angle and Duke from another angle. There's a pair of dog tags. There are 4 bullets, and maybe a handwritten note. And you see a little bit of the brown of the desk. And way, way, way up at the top, one of those folders is marked, and it's cropped partly off the top of the cover in red with a top secret stamp. So, Mark, we're going to get several of these, right, by Moldavia?
Yeah, these are called the secret dossier variants. So all with this same sort of theme of a central character with like manila kind of folders in the background, that kind of thing. They aren't interlinking. They are solo images, but following the same theme. I'm looking at the background of some of these images of Duke, and I think there is a bit of reference to existing art. So I think just by Duke's sort of thigh holster, that's Mike Vosberg, first appearance of Duke there.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And I wonder if, and it looks to me like possibly that one on the bottom right might be Tom Riley.
Duke. Interesting. Okay.
But yeah, not 100% sure. Diane is sort of saying the same thing as me, I think, just about the same time. Those photos are based on earlier comic appearances. So we could probably track down the source of a few of those, and with the, if you've got a good enough eye and a good enough recollection, that one just by his fist, that looks familiar as well. Is that a Russ Heath maybe? Yeah, I'm sure they could have a lot of fun trying to kind of track all of those down. Yorktown Joe says cover C is a 1-of-1 variant just for Diana, the world's biggest Duke fan. She's got connections.
So as for several months, the C covers have been open to order. These are not rare or tiered variants. You can just get this cover if your store should only be selling cover C of G.I Joe 331 for cover price on its opening week. So the Energon Universe G.I. Joe had a 5 or 6 issue stretch. Good. You read my mind. Where a different artist did have 6 connecting covers where we're looking down at the top of a desk and we see photos spotlighting 1 or 2 characters each that were highlighted in that story. So that's the Energon Universe's Night Force.
Yeah, that's the first one is the Night Force on issue number 7, I think. Okay,
but also then Baroness and Major Blood, and all right. So some of it's Night Force and some of it's regular G.I. Joe, and what both of these sets of covers in Real American Hero 331 and up, and also Energon Universe, what is this, 7 through 11, 12?
7 to 12, yeah.
What they both look back to is Larry Hama's layout for the Mike Zeck cover of G.I. Joe 26.
Right.
Is Snake Eyes, The Origin Part 1, which you can get perhaps at your local comic book store as a facsimile or as a Hama Files edition, where we are looking at some kind of desktop, not a computer desktop. I mean, the top of a desk. And there's like a photo of Snake Eyes and a photo of his sister and a newspaper clipping and a bullet and a folder or a dossier, and that one doesn't quite read like a wooden desktop because that background color is red. Mark, do you have this handy? These also refer to the these also allude back to the Herb Trimpe promo art for Special Missions, which you and I slightly customized into a Talking Joe version. Anyway, you don't have to put that on screen. And in fact, fun fact, when Larry Hama wrote and storyboarded the Activision Wolverine PlayStation game back in, 2005? I don't remember. One of the cutscenes opens with a desktop in a hotel room with like a bullet and like a newspaper clipping and a passport and like a dossier. And then the camera pulls back and Logan, Wolverine, is like drinking whiskey while looking out the window of this motel. So this is both a thing in the world of G.I. Joe and also a thing that Hama has occasionally done.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So variant retailer variants this month. We have got 1/2 because it's a set of 2. This is by Jordan Noir and Macy McGilloway. So this is Snake Eyes sort of split in half, and Dawn Moreno split in half. They're connecting exclusives available from 616 Comics and also from Comic Traders. So sometimes you get these shared variants, so available from multiple destinations. Can you do a sentence on the colors, because they're a little unusual? Yeah, so I guess we've got the main figure of Snake Eyes and Dawn, which is largely in black with a bit of red and some light sort of playing to kind of create a bit more of an interesting image than just solid black. And in the background, we've got sort of a gradient of purpley pink as a coloured background with G.I Joe as a repeating kind of logo wallpaper. Some pop to this, because I guess it does look relatively different with that background effect. Maybe we should have someone from 616 Comics on Talking Joe, and we can ask them about all of these. Either someone there likes G.I Joe, or someone there likes making money, and they keep making money off of these G.I Joe variants, or both. And William Husted said, alternate covers are pretty, but it still feels like a way of milking their fans. William, let me know if I got your name right. This is both a business decision and a creative decision. And, as a store owner, sometimes I get emails from the big publishers saying, we have retailer exclusive cover opportunities coming up for this new special issue. Contact our, person who's in charge of this to talk about numbers and artists. And I have occasionally thought about it. I haven't pulled the trigger. I probably won't. But, I'm a G.I. Joe fan, and I'm more likely to do this for G.I. Joe and less likely to do it for some, like Marvel Predator issue or like random issue of Batman. So I wonder if someone at 616, long U, William Husted? No, it's William Husted. All right. Was that long enough? Any other variant? Any other variants? That was it. That was okay. The last one. So that means that we can get into the issue proper. And as we do so, let's just give a spoiler warning. If you've not yet read the issue, there will be spoilers ahead.
Watch out! There's spoilers ahead! Turn back before it's too late!
We did have a further comment from William Husted saying yes. So I think he was agreeing with my pronunciation. Man. What a guy. So let's get into what happens with a reminder of the plot in a plot breakdown.
Plot breakdown.
In the High Sierras, a Joe team arrives on a tomahawk, expecting to subdue an evil brainwashed Snake Eyes, but finds that he has defeated his brain implant. He's taken back to the pit, where Dawn has been trapped. Snake Eyes heads down into the containment area and uses the Kuro Kage mind meld to crush Dawn's evil Easter egg in her subconscious. Meanwhile, in Darklonia, Helix and Beachhead are calling a temporary truce with the Cobras there, and they hunker down in the Terradrome while a brainwashed Sean lays siege, driving a BTR armored car covered in plastic explosives at them. What happens next? Find out in 2 months' time.
Wait, I'm confused. Find out in 2 months' time?
Yeah, because next month is a different story. Is going to be
right.
It's going to be a filler issue. So in 2 months' time, we've got
fill in.
Filler
has a negative connotation. Okay, right. I wonder if the softcover collection will slightly reorder these issues so that 333 comes before 332. Mark, what was your initial reaction to this new issue of G.I. Joe?
I thought it was okay. I felt a little bit like it just to paraphrase one of Larry Hama's favorite expressions, it was a bit of a sort of circling the air in a kind of a racetrack pattern. We kind of, I get a sense of where the story is going, and this is sort of continuing in that trajectory. So sort of we've got the Snake Eyes in the Sierras. Story's been resolved. He's transported to the pit. He's found Dawn. He's fixed her problems, and Sean is out there in Darklonia, still sort of fighting with cobras and whatnot. And it feels like we've not necessarily learnt or advanced a huge amount. I mean, sort of just thinking about kind of like the urgency of kind of how much it feels like happens in every single episode or issue of the Energon universe, G.I Joe, and this feels just a little bit slower paced. Let's say a little less urgent. So it was fine, but for me, I don't think it's a killer issue. Tim, what about you? High level thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. There were a couple of things that I thought were great about this issue. I do like seeing Shockwave, and I like seeing Rock and Roll. And even though I think technically Rock and Roll is in his version 1 costume, the way that he's lit and colored, I can sort of pretend he's halfway in his version 2 costume, which I do think is a better costume, but I understand if people want the original 13. When I got to the page where Snake Eyes uses what is it called again? The
Kurokage mind meld.
Kurokage mind meld. When I got there, I sort of chuckled because I thought, well, that's not realistic. And then I thought, then I caught myself, and I remember reading issue, I don't know what it is. When is I'm putting my hands up, sort of with a triangle between them, up to my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Who does this in like the 20s or the 40s or the 60s? Who does this to who?
I think it happens a couple of times. I think the Arashikage mindset is used a couple of times. More than a couple of times between Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes to either put them into or take them out of a trance. So I think it happens relatively early on, but also sort of in the Wild Man era, it happens there. I think it also happens early on in the IDW era where Snake Eyes, I think, had been brainwashed then, and Storm Shadow takes him out. So is one of them this triangle of hands, Arashikage mindset, as a kind of semi-magical ninja Arashikage thing is not new, but this terminology of the Kurokage is new.
But also that fourth word, mind meld, the Kurokage mind meld. Diana tells us that Storm Shadow does it to Snake Eyes first. And I'm also trying to remember, is it in the flashback to Vietnam after Snake Eyes has been injured?
Yes. Yeah.
Like in issue 26, maybe? So when I read those when I was younger, I was all on board. Like, oh, ninja stuff, right? Like, and it's a little mystical, and, maybe it's made up and maybe it's fantastical, but I don't actually know anything about ninjas, 12-year-old Tim thinks. So maybe they can do this, or, this is already a world with like several astronauts and Serpentor and cloning and stuff. So I think that's allowed. Mind meld, those two words, to me, that definitely recalls Star Trek. And I think what's throwing me off a little bit about this scene with this mind meld, I like that it happens. I like that it's Snake Eyes who calms down Dawn. And I like that he does it with a ninja technique. I think what's throwing me off a little bit is that Diana tells us that Kurokage means black shadow. Thank you. I think what throws me off a little bit is that although there's some tension in the preceding couple of pages, because the Joes have trapped Dawn in the pit for their safety and her safety, and as a stalling tactic, and then she somehow gets out of their view, so they don't know where she is. So there's some tension. but there isn't an added level of tension. Like, I don't want her to kill a Joe while she's temporarily a villain, but let's say that like Senator Ling Torres?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say the Joes are giving another tour to Senator Ling Torres. Or let's say not Billy or Tyrone, they're gone, but some civilian type character is in the pit. Or maybe it's a Joe, and Dawn as villain is like getting closer and closer to harming a character, and that would be terrible for Dawn and terrible for the Joes. Or if there's more of an immediate, I mean, sort of physical, it's like, no, she's much closer to like the outer door, or like she's much closer to getting to a recently refueled helicopter right at the top on Camp Greer, and she's going to get out and harm some people or cause some havoc, or like she's going for the power, or she's going for the like the refueling station in the pit, and the whole pit might blow up. And so her as a threat and me being worried for her and like about the rest of the Joes, it's quite small and it never gets very high. And so sort of the most that I get in terms of the Joes being worried and me being worried for them is page 5, which I'm going to interrupt myself a little bit. I love page 5 because page 5 is dialogue-less. There's some sound effects, but also it's the kind of sound effect that I think like actually isn't really there, because I kind of feel like these closed circuit TV cameras don't have speakers, you know? So I sort of feel like in our mind, we're like hearing the sound effect of what Dawn is doing there in the space as she's knocking out cameras, not the sounds that Duke and Stalker and Mainframe and Dial Tone are hearing. But anyway, I love the 4 panels of the 4 Joes reacting. And I love particularly that the final panel is wordless, that Stalker just looks concerned and Duke just looks frustrated, and he puts his sort of hand to his forehead and looks down. I love that body language. I love their concern on the first panel, their creased brows. Paul Pelletier does this so nicely. Okay, but the stakes for this issue seem pretty low, that Dawn is trapped and she might cause problems, but she doesn't get very far. And Snake Eyes stops her pretty easily. And then similarly, when we cut over to, is it Darklonia?
We've got a comment here from Diana. Why not stop her before she becomes a threat? That's the best way to maintain security. Yes, I mean, stop her before she becomes a threat is probably the best way of containing the threat, but it's not perhaps the most exciting story. It feels like, as I think, you know, I'm on the same page there with Tim, that maybe that threat, the tension wasn't quite, you know, ratcheted up quite to the level that you might otherwise have expected before. Let's say the metaphorical bomb of Dawn is defused by Snake Eyes.
Similarly, when we cut to Darklonia and Beachhead and Helix and Sean are outside the Terradrome, and inside the Terradrome are a couple. There, it's like a Cobra soldier, and then some Blue Ninja enhanced cyborg Vipers. Right, I'm losing a little bit of track. I know that the word balloons for the cyborg enhanced characters, it's a purple outline with purple text, and right. Okay, so the Techno Viper has an oval or circular word balloon, and his word balloon is purple, and then the actual sort of robot ones have like square word balloons with lightning bolt jagged tails, and then the Cobra Soldier just has a normal one. But you and I have talked about how, you know, if all the Cobras are like 100% more strong and resilient to like explosions and bullets and swords and fighting, then we should see like every fight scene with them maybe take twice as long, or the Joes be twice as tired by the end of them. And we've sort of skipped up to that level and like leveled it back down so that like the Joes do take care of them about as quickly in terms of sort of number of panels as they did before there were cyborgs and blue ninjas. And I do see here that Helix on, I think it's page 9, does fire a frag, does fire like a little bloop gun grenade launcher and blows up one of them, which is different than just using a machine gun. But similarly, this scene at the end where the Joes and these Cobras might team up, I sort of chuckled out loud when one of the Cobras says, I lost it. I said, shouldn't we team up? Oh, here we go. That Joe ran back to the tree line. Stop. Right, there we go. It's the next page. If your pages are numbered that you're showing right now. Mark, stop. Your Renegade Joe is a threat to us all. We should declare a truce. That's funny and great. And then Beachhead says, well, don't that make the truce kind of moot if Sean is running away? So I love this, when the good guys and the bad guys have to team up to take down a bigger threat, or they have to work together because, they're all trapped or something. But I sort of can't help but thinking, while the Joes are like running into the Terradrome, it's like, okay, there are like cyborg ninjas and the really giant Terradrome, like laser pod embankment gun thing on top. And they make it past the clearing. They do run there. And I just wanted it to be a little harder. I don't want them to die. I don't necessarily want them to get injured. So these two subplots, these two plots in this issue, there are elements about them that I like. I feel like each one could be sort of more potent.
Yeah, I think so. I'm showing on screen some of Paul Pelletier's pencils as we go. He's generally very good at releasing the original art onto his website a couple of days after the issue goes live. So head on over to his website, which I think is paulpelletierart.com, but Google is your friend, and you can find the latest pages from this issue up for sale at very reasonable prices. I've got a great comment here from Diana, which has sort of set herself up for a trap so that I can say literally anything and she'll agree. Like I could say, isn't it great that we're seeing these Joe characters spotlighting Beachhead and Shockwave, and I'm glad that we're not seeing anything of Duke in the field this issue because he is a boring character. All right, great.
Oh, jeez. Mark has put up on screen a comment from Diana, completely out of context, where Diana has said, "This is true." Speaking of characters doing the thing that they often do, and us wanting them to do a different thing, page one of this issue has the Tomahawk and has Wild Bill and Lift Ticket. And I love Wild Bill and Lift Ticket, and they are in the cockpit. And that's what they do. And I keep wanting to see a story where they're in a helicopter and it crashes and they have to either survive or climb down the mountain or like take out one Cobra who's also crashed on the side of the mountain. And they get to do something besides sit in a cockpit and like ferry people back and forth and take off and land. And I know there was a little bit of dodging missiles like 5 or 10 issues ago, but I got excited because on this first page, there's lightning, and Wild Bill talks about the storm, and Lift Ticket says that the atmospherics are playing havoc with their comms. And I thought, is the Tomahawk going to crash? And it doesn't. It lands and safely deposits Shockwave and Rock and Roll. Every couple of pages, there's a panel or two where there are moments in this issue that I really love. Like on page 3, the Tomahawk has landed in the Sierras, where the cabin is, where Snake-Eyes, and Scarlett are, and it's raining. And don't forget, like 2 pages ago in story continuity, Snake-Eyes killed a bear to save Scarlett, and that was quite powerful. And I'm a little jaded from reading thousands of comic books since that first year when I was reading like only G.I Joe and Special Missions and like Punisher and Uncanny X-Men, and I didn't understand X-Men when everything was new and exciting. And I can put myself in my sort of 12-year-old body. If Snake-Eyes had killed a bear to save Scarlett when I was new to comics, I would have been so blown away. It's really sad and inspiring. And, you know, it's raining and he's almost hurt her and the bears hurt her. And, you know, he's won his mental struggle. Okay. So that's the context when this helicopter lands, and on page 3, Snake Eyes slams into Shockwave against the helicopter. Slams him against the outside.
They've just literally landed, and he's jumping through the open side of the helicopter.
Right. Okay.
And slamming, and it's a hell of a mission that poor old Shockwave has been given. It's a bit of a thankless pushing the boulder up the hill. It's not good. This is not a mission you want to be given. I'm going to be given a tranquilizer dart gun to take down Snake Eyes. Will it stop? And then Rashikage Ninja says rock and roll quite fairly. Yeah. I think you're optimistic at the very best there, Shockwave, in terms of the result of this one.
So here's this, you know, you've got like one shot and you got to make the shot count, and all the Joes are very good shots. But I saw this and I thought, oh, well, maybe that could have been Lowlight, or who's our new sniper? Downrange?
Downrange, yeah.
And then I thought, well, that can be sort of self-defeating if like the like, if you only ever use the Joe for the specialty. It's like, no, all the Joes are pilots. It's not just Ace. You know, like all the Joes can jump out of airplanes in parachutes. It's not just Crazy Legs and Ripcord. But we haven't seen Lowlight recently, and I would love to see him in this role. And then, you know, then I start overthinking it. It's like, well, Rock and Roll is a heavy machine gunner. Why do they need a heavy machine gunner to show up and like subdue Snake Eyes? It's not like he has his version 2 handheld Gatling guns and those are filled with tranquilizer darts. Wait a minute, Darklon has a handheld Gatling gun filled with tranquilizer darts, which he used on other Cobras in issue 90, which is a scene that is burned in my brain. Anyway, okay, back to this second panel on page 3. Snake Eyes is holding Shockwave against the inside wall of the Tomahawk. And he's holding his sort of neck like he's going to strike him, like he's going to kill him. And he's taken the tranquilizer dart rifle away from him. And Shockwave is shocked and scared. And he says, Snake Eyes? Actually, there's no question mark. There's an exclamation mark. And I was really struck by this because we don't often see Joe's sort of surprised and a little scared. And this isn't like, oh no, Cobra Commander's back, I'm surprised. This is like, what is happening? My friend is going to hurt me. And it even continues on the next panel with Rock and Roll's body language.
And yeah, at this point in time, as far as they know, Snake Eyes has still got this sort of brainwashed implant, and is an evil Snake Eyes, let's say. So, yeah, they must think that they're in real peril until Scarlett sets the record straight and says that you can all stay down. You can all stand down. Snake Eyes went into his own memory and pulled the implant. That's a great hand on panel 4 of this page in the rain.
Yes. Paul Pelletier can draw hands really well. And then there's another great moment on the next page, on page 4, where I'm going to call them Control Room Squad, Control Room Corps.
There's another story we need to see. Just as we need to see Wild Bill and Lift Ticket on a solo mission from a broken, a downed plane or whatever, we need to see Control Room Squads off on a mission of their own, or sort of battling some sort of Cobra incursion or something. Let's get these guys out of that room. Let them see some sunlight.
You know what we can compromise? Maybe do you know the term bottle episode, where a TV series will have its characters all in one location? It's like an episode of Star Trek where they don't go down to the planet. They're like stuck on the bridge for the whole episode because, the computers turn against them. And that is both I guess Hitchcock's Lifeboat is kind of a bottle episode, although that's a movie. it's both a way to, as a writer, give yourself a limitation, and also as a producer to save some money, right? So a lot of times you'll have a TV series, and if it's like 13 episodes and you just spent a lot of money on 1 or 2 episodes with guest stars and makeup and a bunch of extra sets, then you have an episode which costs less money where you don't build any new sets, right? And it's like, oh, the Enterprise is turned against Data and Wesley, and everyone else is unconscious, and they're just stuck on the Enterprise. Okay. So maybe Mainframe Duke, Stalker, and Dial Tone could be stuck in one room in the pit and have to get out. And Hasbro could do a 4-pack where they've got sort of different color scheme or camo. Anyway, Diana Davis says those poor guys are getting so pale, which is a joke, but also a little true, because Francesco Segala's color scheme for all of the computer room scenes in A Real American Hero are all lit by this sort of pale electric blue from all the monitors, which I love. Okay, the reason why I wanted to talk about this page is that on panel 3, panels 2 and 3, Duke says, Dawn's staring dead at the surveillance cams. How does she know where they all are? And Stalker says, she would have memorized them all beforehand. That's what a ninja does. And if there are moments or scenes in this issue where I think, this isn't what I want from a Larry Hama story, that word balloon, this panel, these 2 panels are what I want from a Larry Hama story, where someone is an expert at something, someone is crafty, someone knows more than the other characters, and that's building. It's both funny and it's also this tension and drama, because, we haven't seen a Joe turned evil in a very long time. So this issue, what I really gravitate towards is like every couple of pages or scenes, there's a panel or 2 where there's a great sort of physical bit of action and dialogue and motivation, even if the larger like plot chunks are not as dramatic as I want them to be. And then this leads into that next page, which I already talked about, which is 9 panels and has no dialogue. And then there's another page in this issue which has no dialogue. It's page 11. If we're just jumping around, and I think we're just jumping around.
Well, we're sort of moving through, but we can jump forward to this page and then let's move back to page 5 or whatever it was. Yeah.
So, so the couple of Cobra agents and Beachhead and Helix in the Terradrome sort of have a truce, and I really like where that's going. And I hope it can get drawn out a little bit. And then there are 5 panels on the next page, page 11, where Sean Throwdown is just running, and he gets to where the vehicles are parked with some people that were killed, and he goes to the back of the vehicle and he opens a bag. And I've seen enough action movies, action shows, and read enough G.I. Joe comics that I know what this is. This is a duffel bag of C4 or Sculpey. Do you make things out of clay and then is Sculpey the air dry one or the one that you put in your oven? Anyway, I love this page, and there's a subtle thing which Paul Pelletier is doing, which is he's having Sean go to the left in the first 3 panels. Right. That in Western culture we read left to right, so characters are a little bit more often in comic books facing to the right, because that's the way we read, and then you go to the right side of the page and you turn the page. Yes, you could argue it's like, well, when I'm holding the comic book, page 10 is on the left side and page 11 is on the right side, so he's running back towards the page. Like, no. He's running away from the scene that takes place sort of in my mind to the east. He's running to the west.
That's so subtle but great.
Yes. Thumbs up, Paul Pelletier. And when I got to that final panel, I chuckled out loud because I know what that is. And that's a thing that's going to make a big explosion. And maybe it's going to be the whole Terradrome. Maybe it's going to be just a couple of the Cobra cyborgs and the Blue Ninja. I don't think anyone's going to die. I don't think Hama is building up Throwdown to kill him off. But it is possible. I'd say there's a 10% chance. Once again, I was just reminded how much I appreciate that Throwdown has a red headband, so I can very much tell him apart from Snake Eyes since their costumes are similar. All right, Mark, back to you. Do we need to jump back a few pages, or is there a topic you want to get to?
Headband and Commando, V1 Commando style mask versus the visor that Snake Eyes has. I've got a topic which is the look of Snake Eyes, which we'll get to in a second as well. I'll just shout out Ronnie Trickshot, who's joining us from Down Under. Good day, legends. I think that's us. Is that a little cricket bat and a ball? Leaning into the stereotype, fantastic. And Barking Fridge there as well has also joined us and points out that rock and roll has got a long history with Scarlett and Snake Eyes. So perhaps that is why he's been chosen to... Oh, wait,
go back to that. Barking Fridge calls out Hot Potato. Hot Potato. Maybe why that is why Duke sent rock and roll out there. Hot Potato, of course, is the backup story printed in Marvel's 1982 issue 1 of G.I. Joe. Folks, you may have missed it if you bought one of IDW's reprints, which kept skipping that story. Thank you, Skybound, for restoring it. Roadblock is, rock and roll is there in Hot Potato. Okay. What topic do you want to get back to, Mark?
Right. So we skipped to a little bit of a scene of the Joes under threat from the Terradrome being shot at, and they say, "Is it here we go? Where is it that?" Yeah, it's this page. There's and I think you've probably got this in your notes, Tim. But on this panel, Helix says she talks about, I guess, the physics of the cannon and the elevation. She says, once Sean gets below the lowest elevation point of the laser cannon, they won't be able to lock in on him.
Is this a Hama time?
Oh yeah, we need. We should actually. That is my Hama time of the month.
Stop. Hama time.
So everyone understands this, right? If you, I'm holding my fist up to the camera and I'm putting my hand flat on it. So if my fist is the Terradrome and my flat hand on top of it are the lasers, they can pivot up and they can shoot straight and they can pivot down just a little bit, but they can't. Hama often uses the verb, I think, traverse, right? They can't aim all the way down directly at the ground, right at the base of the Terradrome. And so there's sort of a triangle of a safe zone that Sean wants to get to, and then he's safe from the blast. So I did mentally chuckle at this, not because Hama's doing a thing we've read before, but because I love it when he does this, because this is a physical thing that he's thinking about. And this is, I've said this before, there are certain things that you only get in G.I. Joe comics where Hama is thinking about the physical reality of characters and vehicles and weapons and projectiles in a way that you may not even get in Punisher or Batman comics. And you certainly would never get in Avengers or X-Men comics.
And the most delightful example of this was in issue number 80, where there are these maggots, in this scene, Outback is fretting about the maggots and the armored support, and Hit and Run points out that they can't get to them because it's trigonometrically that's a mouthful, impossible. And he explains that due to the elevation, they wouldn't be able to get to them. So these maggots are shooting up, and it's going over the top of the mountain and the other side. Before they realize that actually, if they just lower their elevation, they can just blast away at the top of the mountain instead of dropping down on top of them.
Can you go back 2 slides? Hit and Run has that word balloon where he says, artillery is the science of calculating angles and trajectories. I think we're looking at some Ron Wagner layouts, and is it Fred Fredericks on finishes? Looks like
maybe.
That's a good visual callback. I also loved, back to page 7, this giant wrench and this giant, is that a lug nut? And, the Cobra Soldier and the Techno Viper, right? Cut him down. If he gets inside, we are dead meat. Why hasn't anybody closed and locked the blast door? It's jammed. We're trying to override the automatic mechanism and close it by hand. And he's pointing, and the Techno Viper is holding a giant wrench. And there's this giant lug nut. And again, I don't mean to pick on X-Men comics. I love X-Men comics, but I feel like a scene like this with X-Men comics is going to be about like psychic shields and telekinetic, it's like the Sentinel's after me. It's like, in some horrible future where the X-Men have been hunted to extinction, it's like, close the door and we'll be safe. Or like, we have to hide in Cerebro, right? And Xavier's like, I'm trying to close the door with my mind. Magneto is using his mind to stop me. It's like, no. Turn the crank. It's jammed. So love it.
There we go. So what next? Are we back to? No, it's more action. The Joes are doing this frontal assault to get inside the Terradrome, and fine, lots of action. But so I'm going to skip forward past that. We talked about the C4. And then we're in with Snake Eyes returning to the pit. And I was just going to sort of make an observation about the look of Snake Eyes.
We're now on page 12.
This is 12 now that we're on. So he's there in the Tomahawk with the crew. They're landing back at the pit, and Snake Eyes is going to go and help with the whole Dawn situation. But yeah, it sort of occurred to me about the design of Snake Eyes. So when we first saw Snake Eyes in the Skybound series, it was the clone Snake Eyes. He was freshly out of the tank, and he was wearing his V1 costume with that kind of more of the what do you call it, commando mask. And they very sensibly kind of reworked his design to give him the classic V2 visor, and they had a whole issue, well, not an issue, but sequence in an issue kind of showing his new look and his loadout, which was a lot of fun. And then sort of Chris Mooneyham kind of lent into that and toyed with the idea, and he gave these sort of like reticulated kind of sleeves with these sort of rectangles sort of running up and down them. But then I go on.
I think of that when those lines are closer together. I think of that as a quote moto style in like fashion, where it's like motorcycle pants. It's that rib. It's that ribbing,
right?
That Brian Hitch put in the Ultimates that sort of became like costumes that everyone does in comics now. Please continue.
So we got that sort of as an alternate look from particularly from Mooneyham and Pelletier kind of echoed that when he was drawing Snake Eyes. And then in the Cranky issue, which I think is 326, that solo issue where they're in the Middle East, they actually sort of subtly changed his look again. So he was this costume with a sort of slightly more simplified, much closer to the original kind of V2 Snake Eyes, with these sort of shotguns, with these twin bandoliers, shotgun shells on one side and sort of grenades on another, and also the Arashikage tattoo symbol on his arm as well. And I hadn't really picked up on that kind of subtle design change at the time, really, but since then it has been echoed in this look here for Snake Eyes, and you can see these sort of twin bandoliers on him with the shotgun shells and the kind of empty loops where the grenades would have hung off of. So a lot of attention being paid to kind of the continuity of this particular look. But yeah, a subtle kind of gradual shifting across. We've not had that many issues, 30, 31. But we've had multiple different looks to Snake Eyes. So a man of fashion, let's say.
Yeah, it's funny because with a character like Duke, if you're going to draw version 1 Duke, I don't want his shirt and his gear to be overly accessorized or complicated. Like when John Boy Myers did a cover for was it Classic Volume 2015 at the end of the IDW reprint run of the Marvel. Maybe it was classic, like volume 11. And he drew sort of Duke version 1, but really modernized. And it's sort of now, in comparison, looks like sort of how Tom Riley has like redesigned Duke for the Energon universe. Mm-hmm. And even though just Duke version 1's plain shirts and those 2 pockets and 1 bandolier and his pants, that's quite sort of streamlined and simple. That's what I want. I don't want like extra straps and armor and gear. You know, I keep going back and forth with sort of the new take on Flint, where like classified Flint for Hasbro has, is it sort of a bulletproof vest?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
that's realistic. I think you would wear that, but I just want to see Flint go in with a shirt with, you know, ammo over both shoulder. And with Snake Eyes, I'm a little more forgiving of sort of an issue to issue or artist to artist change with his gear, because there have been so many different Snake Eyes characters, toy designs, right? And there have been sort of by comparison, you know, Flint and Duke, you know, fewer. And it is important to me that the Real American Hero universe look different from the Energon universe. And that's not just like no green on Duke's shirts in a Real American Hero. It's like, no, that's also like the shirt should be more simple. But I appreciate your tracking of these costume changes. I guess in the letters page, Alex Antone answers a question about Throwdown and how Throwdown has the red Irashikage logo on his shoulder. And in that page you just showed from a couple issues ago by Andrew Cronky, Snake Eyes, not Throwdown Snake Eyes, has it on his shoulder, which makes me wonder, is that sort of now either technically a mistake, or it's like, okay, here's another thing we're going to do to separate these two characters. Snake Eyes will not have red lines on his shoulder. Throwdown will.
Yeah.
But also I'm okay if Cronky draws Snake Eyes with the, I don't want that logo on his shoulder, for the same reason that the letter writer in this issue called out that it's supposed to be a secret. But I understand. I think this was a sort of Hasbro directive, like 15 years ago. Okay. This is a guess. I think this was a good idea that Devil's Due had, where you put that logo on Snake Eyes' shoulder. And then I think, this is a guess, Hasbro said, yeah, let's keep doing that because that visually brands the character. And think about, like, DC's done something sort of similar with the characters of Cyborg and Black Canary. For the longest time, those characters didn't have a symbol. But now, Cyborg he doesn't just have like a circle or a light on his chest. He has like a C on his chest, like the Cyborg symbol. And Black Canary in the last year or two, she doesn't just have like a bustier or a top or a shirt or a jacket. She has a like canary logo on her chest that is a part of her bustier, because it's like, no, then we can put that on action figures and we can sell a shirt that's just a Black Canary shirt that just has that logo. And if you don't have that, there's no symbol for her. So I understand from a branding perspective, giving Snake Eyes, all Snake Eyes, this one Snake Eyes, that logo on his shoulder. I do think putting it on his sword is dumb, and that definitely feels like a branding thing. It's like, well, this company wants to make this sword. They want to license and make a sword, and it's like, well, if it doesn't have we can't put a G.I. Joe logo on it. We can't put a Cobra logo on it. Can we put the Irashikage logo on it? Like, yes, they wouldn't have put it on the sword. Right. Anyway.
So back to story. We got a bit of exposition here. They're explaining to Dawn, you know, what we already know, which is that Dawn is loose in the containment area. They want Snake Eyes to go down and sort it out, and we do. And we're tracking these things. He does. Snake Eyes, and it's still quite jarring to me actually when he did this, but we do get Snake Eyes talking. Snake Eyes talking, Snake Eyes talking about things he wants to say. Yes, so Snake Eyes does talk, and he said, okay, go on.
Wait, let me jump in, because I think this is a point we need to make about the first scene in the issue. That Snake Eyes doesn't talk. Snake Eyes doesn't say, "It's okay, everyone, I'm fine."
No, instead he just busts up their asses.
No, he's upset and angry, and he's lost control, and he's recovering, and he's gone through yet another like tiny trauma with the Easter egg in his head. It's Scarlett who says the thing for him on page 3. No, he's fine. And then
interesting.
4, 5,
maybe
7, 8,
maybe he's in that place where he almost forgets that he can speak. Like he's a silent man of action, and his natural instinct is to just react physically and not just use your words, Snake Eyes, as you might say to a young child. Use your words.
I think that might be an in-story reason, but I think what Hama is really doing is something that you and I have, I think, picked up on, which is that Snake Eyes never talked before, so he's not going to talk much now. But also, there's a lot of conversation on page 12, the one before you have on screen right now. The helicopter's coming back to Camp Greer, and Snake Eyes doesn't say anything. Right. Yep. But Scarlett's sort of speaking for him. Like, Snake Eyes, it has to be you who deals with Dawn. You have to get into that attic and defuse the Easter egg, right? There's a different version of the scene where Snake Eyes would say, "I have to do it." Right. Okay. So sorry, back to you. You just played the jingle. We're on page 13, and Snake Eyes does have some dialogue, and
he says in his voice, in his ninja voice, "She's in there."
Oh, geez.
Is that how he sounds, do you think?
No, I don't.
No?
Wow.
I'm a ninja.
Oh, no. I feel like it's 1986 all over again, and my family's on vacation, and I'm at the beach.
If only I could use the voice from his animation appearances.
Oh, gee. And there's a kid at like the motel cottage near us, and he's got the new issue of Cracked. And I don't like Cracked. I like Mad, even though I'm sure Cracked was just as good as Mad. And it's got some G.I Joe parody, and it's called like G.I Joke. And I in my mind, I frowned and crossed my arms. It's like, I don't want anyone to make fun of my G.I Joe. Okay, so should we now track across the rest of the issue what Snake Eyes says and what he does? Because in the next 2 pages, he is wordless. The next 3 pages, right? He goes into the space, and he figures out where Dawn is, and then she attacks. And by the way, this page 16, which has 3 panels, one of them has a big red knockout background, and it's Snake Eyes and someone fighting in a contained space. It's not a hallway, but it's kind of close to a hallway. When I saw this page, I thought, well, here's another comparison to Rob Liefeld's fight choreography in Snake Eyes Dead Game. And I'll just plant that seed, and someone else can write a 20,000 word blog post about Snake Eyes Dead Game.
And there's also a nice visual echo on this, somewhat of a splash page. It's 3 panels, but it's quite splashy with Dawn jumping down and shouting, "Yeah!" She coming at Snake Eyes. Very similar to the front cover. So it's nice that we're sort of seeing that visual echo in the inside to the front cover. I always love it.
When there's a panel or 2 in the issue that is the story version of the cover. And then on page 20, 19, 18, 17, Snake Eyes doesn't say any words. Is shushing someone technically vocalizing? No, because you're not using your voice. You're just using air. He does something that he's never done before, which is he just, I don't mean like at the library you shush someone and you're mad at them. I mean like in a soothing way, in a talking them down way. Maybe it's not shushing. Maybe he shishes her. And it's over 2 panels. And I was really struck by this because we've never seen him do this. And Hama, even though Snake Eyes can talk and does talk, now, 20-some issues in, 30-some issues in, Hama is really keeping Snake Eyes' dialogue to a minimum, which I appreciate. And then on that, Barking Fridge says, Eddie Deason as Snake Eyes. Folks, make it happen. Is that an actor? Is that someone from the internet? Is that someone with a crazy voice?
I don't know the reference. So maybe Bark and Fridge, maybe you can elaborate on the Eddie Deason reference.
Okay, and then earlier I was talking about how this mind meld is both very in keeping with things that have happened in A Real American Hero, and also for me a tiny, tiny step too far, or a new thing that I'm getting used to. And I think part of it is in that second panel on page 17, I don't know what it is, smoke, energy, magic, spell, essence that's sort of coming out of Snake Eyes' fingers. He's crossed his fingers except for his two index fingers, which are up and together.
Yeah, I think the colors on this probably sort of make it look a bit more like smoke than maybe it should. I think we're seeing mystical energies here, in sort of a kind of a visual form. So possibly something just a bit stranger, maybe more psychedelic. I think the colors here sort of look a little bit more like literal smoke, to be honest. So yeah, I'm not too sure if that's. I think it creates room for confusion as to is smoke being projected out of Snake Eyes' fingers here or something. But yeah.
And then in terms of the story and the tension and the drama of this scene happening, in your opening remarks on the issue, you were saying it didn't go far enough. If I think I'm summarizing fairly. And I'm reminded that Dawn has all of Snake Eyes' memories in her mind as well as her own. And that hasn't been touched upon in a while. I mean, referenced at a minimum, but really dealt with, because that's some like 6 issues of X-Men stuff happening there. It's like if Jean had if Jean had all of Madeline Pryor's memories, it's like, oh, I've been married to Scott twice. What do I do?
Yeah, at various points that she's sort of been pushed to breaking point with the fact that she's got Snake Eyes' thoughts and memories sort of rattling about in her noggin, and yeah, that's never been quite dealt with. I didn't think she was going to kind of try and see if she could access the brainwave scanner to maybe take them out or whatever else. And there's nothing that's ever happened with that, and they've kind of just moved on with it and not necessarily gone back to that particular dynamic.
So issue 321 may have been a place to do that because it was a Snake Eyes and Dawn team up issue. But that's 321 needed to be a self-contained issue where like characters are infiltrating a space, like 21. It seems to me that the scene, the issue, the arc where Dawn, its mind has been taken over, and she's dealing with having some version of Snake Eyes is a memory, right? This Easter egg, this mind bomb. I feel like this is the scene, this is the issue to deal with it. And I don't know quite out of these 20 pages how I would drop a couple pages so that this actual page we're looking at, this scene could be bigger and more. But if he's going to do a mind meld, I thought it might be visual, that like they're in the attic together. And then I turn the page and yes, they're in the attic together. I thought, good. And she falls over onto the trunk, which pops open and the egg comes out of it and bounces, and Snake Eyes' boot steps on it. And I thought, it felt quite linear and short, and I wanted some complexity. And I think what I want is them to either go all the way and deal with this while on a mission. It's like, we're going to go steal a brainwave scanner, and like she's having trouble as they get there, and then they get there and there's a fight, and she's injured or he's injured. They got to lug this heavy thing out of the Cobra base or Mindbender or whatever. Or it's sort of more just them like talking. I mean, I don't know that Hama's going to do a scene where characters are just sitting in a room talking, but you do have this visual of these shared memories and these spaces, and his training that's her training, but also she's had new training because she joined the clan and then officially joined the ninja clan, that is, and then officially joined the Joes. So I feel like these two characters' connections is ripe with visual and story opportunity. And these 2 pages are the very sort of simplest version of addressing those and maybe kind of wrapping them up. So,
yeah, it's dealt with very quickly, and it's also dealt with by Snake Eyes fixing the problem for Dawn. And I get there. So some people might say how if Snake Eyes and Dawn both have the same memories and skills to some degree, how is it that Dawn is defeated so easily? And I think there is a kind of a bit of an in-story explanation as to that I think this mind bomb does sort of unleash a bit more of a primeval kind of state in the people it's affecting, so that they're thinking less clearly and less rationally. So I think that it's not like the normal state and skills that the characters might have, that if it was just a true Dawn up against Snake Eyes, it might be a different dynamic to this sort of brain bombed Dawn versus the sort of normal Snake Eyes.
But the good news is that although Snake Eyes conquered his problem last issue and Snake Eyes helps Dawn conquer her problem this issue, we still have the Sean thing.
Sean dynamic over on the other side of the world. Right.
And also over on the other side of the next month of the calendar, because as you reminded me, next issue is a 20-page adventure that's unrelated. That is this the Pat Olaf issue that he did some time ago?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is
Pat Olaf one,
this is them keeping a monthly schedule, and then 2 months from now, Barking Fridge says it's a joke. Eddie was in 1941 on the Ferris wheel. That's the movie 1941. 80s actor with a very grating voice and would not shut up. Maybe in the comments or on Facebook, Lark Bark says, hello, everyone, and good morning from California and soon to be afternoon. Maybe in the comments right now, Barking Fridge says, I've always wanted a Dawn story with her and Psych out. There's a lot going on in her head that most people don't have to deal with.
Yeah, good idea.
Seconded. Maybe in the comments or on Facebook, folks, you can pick an actor or two that you think should provide a voice for Snake Eyes. My joke pick would be Ed Asner doing his James Jonah Jameson voice from the 1995 Spider-Man cartoon. Parker! All right, so 2 pages, 19 and 20, and the issue wraps up. Mark,
so we're back in Darklonia. They're in the they're in the Terradrome, Helix and Beachhead, and they're a fragile alliance with these Cobras. And then final page, we have got Sean in this armored vehicle hurtling at them, and strapped to the front is a giant blocks of modeling clay or possibly C4. And Helix can, from a distance, easily spot that he has wired all of the C4 plastic explosives to the front of the BTR. He's going to crash into the Terradrome. Hama leaving us on a cliff edge, ready for where this story will pick up in issue 3. Where are we? 3. Wow.
I'm gonna criticize something about these 2 pages, and it slightly pains me to do so. So I love Francesco Segala's colors on this series. I think these last 2 pages didn't get as much time. There's just not as much going on in the background and in the sort of lights to darks. And even though the C4 explosives on the front of this vehicle on the final page should like agree with the lighting of the front of the vehicle, right? Because according to this panel, the sort of sun or moon, or I don't know, some camp searchlights are like way over the hill in the background. And so, yes, the front of the vehicle wouldn't be very bright necessarily, although doesn't the Terradrome have some spotlights on it? Anyway, but I feel like those C4 explosives need to be cheated a little bit and just like a lighter color or the light gray, so they stick out. But also, if you're holding the physical comic, if you just flip this last page, back and forth to the first page, or you flip the like second to last page back and forth to the second page of the comic, right? There's just a lot going on with lighting in the first 2 pages of this comic. And it actually might even be, dare I say, unrealistic, because there's like a real light source inside the helicopter that's flying at night. And I feel like oftentimes...
Ooh, it should be red, shouldn't it, Tim?
It should either all be red or it should just be darker. And I'm okay with this because I love G.I. Joe characters' color schemes and I want to see them. I don't want to see them all wearing like the same scuba suit or the same astronaut suit. I want to see, Shockwave in his blues, and I want to see his camo, his weird camo. So this like one light bulb that's in the center of the sitting area inside the back of the Tomahawk. I'm totally okay with it. Or like lightning is illuminating every single time we cut back to them. Those last 2 pages, there's just not as much going on, and it's a little bit of a bummer. But probably, if I'm calling this correctly, it is not Segala's fault that there just wasn't time, because oftentimes it's the colorist and the letterer who, if the schedule is running behind or running short, they have less time and they have to make it up. So Segala's had a great run and done great work on this series. The end of this issue, not as much color as I want. Diana says, in reacting to comments we made a few minutes ago, honestly, most of the ninjas in real life would have serious needs for therapy. Storm Shadow would be the most balanced, and he's been through a ton too. So actually, is it issue 87 of X Factor, written by Peter David and drawn by Joe Quesada, the issue where each member of X Factor is speaking with someone off panel who's like some kind of therapist, and there's no fights in the issue. It's just a talking issue, and it is so good. Wait, weren't you talking about this?
I was talking about it. I was saying it's one of Joshua Williamson's favorite issues.
Right. A mini series. Silent missions next month. Instead of 5 silent comics, let's have wordy missions, or let's have psychotherapy missions. And Hama writes 5 additional comics where in each issue, like one of them could be a Cobra talking to Dr. Mindbender or something, but the other 4, it's like a Joe talking to Psych Out and a different Joe talking to Psych Out, and et cetera, and et cetera. Barking Fridge says, I can see that issue. Hello, my name is Tommy and I am Ninja. Hello, my name is Kim and I am Ninja. Hello, my name is Sean and I am Ninja. Welcome to Ninja Anonymous. That's a joke, though. I don't really need 20 pages times 4 or 5, but I would love seeing. No, seriously, like Psych Out is always in the pit control room, and he's doing a little bit of sort of psychological diagnosis. And if he's not going to do psychological warfare, which is his specialty, then maybe he can just listen to some Joe talk.
There's that great issue of European Missions or Action Force Monthly, depending on which side of the pond you were when it came out, with Psych Out on a field mission to evaluate Outback. Great issue. Seek that one out. The most surprising.
Wait, is the closest? What's the like spotlight issue? Is it 251 with Stalker?
Oh yeah. And they're just worried about his mental state. There's
a little bit of PSTD, but he's not in costume.
He's talking to Spirit, PTSD, I think. Yeah.
But he's not in costume for a lot of that issue, so it's like, well, it is Stalker, but it's just some guy. Okay.
The most surprising part of this issue, perhaps, Tim, was the shots fired by Howard in the pages of the letter column. Alex Antone's reply to him is, "Wow, Howard, coming in hot." But it's I guess brave of them to not just put in all of the flattering letters, but also a dissenting voice of someone who's perhaps not enjoying the latest issues of G.I. Joe quite as much, and not afraid to tell it as he sees it.
What's interesting, so the letter writer, Howard, no last name, doesn't like issue 325. And I agree, it's cool and brave to run a negative letter. It's funny because I thought 325 was great, but I can see these criticisms for other issues. So I sort of agree with Howard, and I sort of completely disagree. And then there's a letter from Andrew J. Shaw, who I think is a long-term letter writer was like writing to Walking Dead.
Skybound, Skybound letter writer, I think. Yeah,
Walking Dead and stuff. I wrote a negative letter to Postbox the Pit about 3 months ago, and I would sure love it if they run that. I also separately sent a very short fact check letter, which I'm finger crossed hoping gets printed in an issue or two. We'll see. If it doesn't, then we'll just talk about it as a topic in a future episode.
And you met him at Joe Fest. Gene Kendall there is also written in with a letter as well. So it's always fun to see friends or fellow members of the G.I. Joe community being featured in the pages of the letter column. And then we've got an unusual character profile. It's not a person, but a wolf,
or a robot, or a zombie.
So it's Timber 4, which sort of puts a bit of a timestamp on the fact that time has elapsed. There's been enough time in between Snake Eyes getting the original Timber before he's joined the team of G.I. Joe in the High Sierras, and its descendant, the current Timber 4 IV, sort of numbering them a little bit like Crimson Guards here. Crimson Guardsmen's there. All of the Timbers, they all look alike.
I don't mind the slightly inconsistent sense of time passing with, these characters having multiple descendants of one animal, and Vietnam was in the late 60s and early to mid 70s. I'm okay with this. Diana says, we were so thrilled to give Timber his own file card. And even though I have now all of these pinups in these issues of G.I. Joe that I have, I am looking forward to both the Kickstarter. Was it an add-on or was it a reward? I get them mixed up.
Both. Yeah, I think there's 2 issues, a G.I. Joe and a Cobra one, and you would get the team version of the set that you backed. So if you bought the G.I. Joe version, you'd get the G.I. Joe Order of Battle, and you would need to add on the Cobra version as a separate add-on. So
I'm looking forward to both getting that in the mail eventually, but also being able to just sell to people at a comic book store 2 new issues of G.I. Joe Order of Battle featuring, I assume, all of these new Chris Mooneyham drawings and also some other ones. That's where the trading card art from the first Kickstarter campaign, that stuff's getting repurposed for that, I think.
I think so. Yeah, I think that might be getting included. So, moving on, we've got an advert for G.I. Joe versus Night Force in the pages of G.I. Joe issue number 25 on the Energon universe. That issue is out this coming week, so make sure you're on that. It's looking pretty exciting. So
do you want to and we interviewed Ben Abernathy.
Oh yes, yeah. So the last episode out was a great interview with Ben Abernathy, where we talked a little bit about his career, about the Energon universe more widely, but also a little bit of a tease to kind of the dynamics of producing a big issue like issue number 25. So yeah, if you've not sought out our interview with Ben Abernathy, do check that out. I think it was a great conversation.
So the tagline on this in-house ad for G.I. Joe 25 says, "Whose side are you on?" Was that the tagline for Marvel's Civil War? Was there some comic book?
Maybe, yeah.
Was there some comic book?
Seems familiar.
This is not a criticism. I'm just reminded. And also Civil War was Civil War was 20. Oh my God. Civil War.
Yeah. I think they're doing an anniversary thing for that. Yeah.
Yes. I read a little bit of that anniversary miniseries, and it's not as good as the original. But yeah, Civil War was 20 years ago. Goodness.
How's this for a Snake Eyes voice? See them there. No, I'll keep on. I'll keep on trying. I'll keep on trying.
You know what?
I'm
gonna try my Ed Wynn voice for a future episode.
The Scarlet?
Right.
Right.
There we go.
Okay. We've got an advert for Tales of Wonder, a new advert, a new comic from Skybound, featuring the talents of Steve Scroce. Is that how you pronounce it?
Steve Scroce. Yeah. Don't forget, people. The Wachowskis went to Warner Brothers and they pitched The Matrix, and Warner Brothers said, we don't understand. And so the Wachowskis had Steve Scroce, who had drawn Cable for Marvel Comics. And I think at that point had he done an issue of Youngblood and then didn't do that series? Anyway. And then Steve Scroce storyboarded the whole movie or a big chunk of the movie. And that was a book.
Jeff Darrow was the other guy working on that. So. Right.
Because there's so much tech. So I'm always pleased when Steve Scroce comes back to comics because, movies are sexier and maybe pay better.
I think he was. I think he worked with Brian K. Vaughan on a series called "We Stand on Guard," which was all about America and Canada being at odds with each other. You're just imagining that sort of crazy scenario.
Yes, that's a mini series, and I think your comic book store can order that. The collection.
And then the ARAH continues on September the 9th, 2026. With this one and done issue with guest artist Pat Olive and the most glorious cover from Lee Weeks.
Yeah, can't wait. Because we've known that Pat Olive drew an issue for a long time, and we've known even a little bit longer than that Pat Olive was doing something else, something new for G.I. Joe besides his variant cover for issue 1, the Hama cut, and the little head pinups that he did for the back of 301.
So I think we're pretty much done talking about issue 331. If you are new to Talking Joe and want to find us, you can head on over to talkingjoe.co.uk. That is our website that points you to all the places that we can be found, including all of our social media platforms like Facebook, where the discussion continues and the latest news is shared. It's also got a link to our Patreon, patreon.com/talkingjoe, where Richard, Sam, Christopher, Shane, Simon, Joe, Craig, D, Shane V2. This one has finally been freed from his brainwashing. Thank goodness. Patrick, Infinite Entertainment, Gary V, Coldroff B, Squishy, Matt, Edu B, and Jonathan. They're getting early access to content and various exclusives. Tim, where can you be found when you're not talking to me about G.I. Joe?
Atomic Abe, that's a YouTube channel. Hub Comics, that's a brick and mortar store. That's in Massachusetts. And I write about G.I. Joe on my blog, realamericanbook.com.
Very good. Now, before we go, if you're really into G.I. Joe and want to keep on listening to more stuff, then if we're on a normal week, very shortly, Chris McLeod of the Full Force will be going live in 4 minutes' time. If he's a little bit crazy with his timing, so your guess is as good as mine, but he might be going live in 4 minutes with the Full Force Weekly, rounding up the latest news of G.I. Joe. And we are the Full Force Prologue Show.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lenny Panzica, and you're watching Talking Joe Podcast, the warm-up show to the Full Force.
So,
thank you, Lenny.
So embarrassing. I mean, for us.
For us, everyone involved. So I think we're done. We've talked about the latest news. We've gone into the detail on the covers. We've explored issue 331, from beginning through to end and back again. And then we've done our wrap up. And so I think we're done, Tim. So I can pretty much hit end now, unless there's anything I've forgotten.
Yes. Goodbye. Nobody Beats Talking Joe, an international podcast.
That was it. Laters.
And now you don't know, because not knowing loses half the battle.